And one. All right. This is going to be one of my favorite bullpen sessions episodes I have ever done, because anytime I get to mix the sport of baseball with the world of marketing and bring them together, that is heaven for me. And that's what we're going to do today. I'm excited today. I have Jesse Cole, the owner of the Savannah Bananas, on. And if you have not heard about the Bananas, you are going to be blown away and you are going to quickly become a fan. Jesse is also the founder of Fans First Entertainment. His teams have welcomed more than 1 million fans to the ballparks and have been featured on MSNBC, CNN, ESPN, Entrepreneur Magazine. Since the Savannah Bananas are a college team, a summer college team that sells out every single game. On top of that, Jesse is the author of Find Your Yellow Tux, How to Be Successful by Standing Out. He is also the host of the Business Done Differently podcast, where he interviews some of the most well-known, world-leading entrepreneurs out there. So, Jesse, again, I can't tell you how excited I'm to have you on today. So welcome aboard. Welcome to Bullpen Sessions.
Andy, fired up to be with you, and love the name of this podcast, by the way. So let's
here, I call it the Bullpen Sessions because when I was pitching, I had to have my weekly bullpen session to make sure I was staying on track. And that's what I want this podcast episode to be about, is helping people stay on track.
I love it. I love it. I actually got to tell you something. We're actually in the works. I want to get a mechanical bull and put it in the bullpen where pitchers have to actually ride the bull before they take them out. So I'm actually working on that. I can see that happening in the future. So it's all coming full circle now.
All right. If you're listening in, you're about to get you're getting a taste of what you're about to hear. This is absolutely insane. And I absolutely love it. Now, I want to start with, you went to Wofford College.
Yes.
Which is actually a basketball school, not a baseball school.
we were 9-40 my freshman year, so we were definitely not a baseball school when we first started, but now they're winning 30, 40 games a year. As soon as I left, they became a great baseball program.
Now, that's where I actually want to start. Did you play college baseball?
Oh, yes. I was very fortunate. I came from up Massachusetts, and so it was very easy to stand out playing baseball in Massachusetts. You throw 90 miles an hour as a pitcher, you stand out. So I got some pretty good scholarship offers, Boston College, Northeastern, a lot of the ones up there, but I wanted to go down south. So Wofford came in and gave me an unbelievable offer that I couldn't, turn down. So I went down to Wofford and became a starting pitcher and a two-way guy from day one as a freshman.
Oh, awesome. What other position did you play?
They ended up I can tell some funny stories about playing first base against Clemson and throwing a ball that almost went out of the stadium trying to play the plate, or trying to run around in the outfield at Texas Tech, having no idea what I was doing. Mostly turned into DH because I was a better pitcher, couldn't play the defense the way I needed to. So pitch and DH.
You must have had a hell of a stick, man, to play both ways in Division I, because that's not an easy thing to accomplish. And I agree with you. I'm 44 years old. And I remember playing back in high school, it was rare that a kid from Wisconsin, where I grew up, got a chance to go play down south. And so that's awesome that you got a chance to go play in North Carolina, because big time Division I, mid-level Division I, that is some competitive baseball. So, so let's fast forward. You graduate, you move on. What got you into running and owning minor league or college baseball summer league teams? What intrigued you to get into that? Were you a marketing major? What was the premise behind that?
I didn't know anything about marketing. People say marketer. We spend $0 on marketing. When we spent money on marketing, we failed. So I don't know if I'm a great marketer. I just had to see something differently. But no, the reality, what happened, I tore my shoulder. Dr. Andrews did my surgery down in Birmingham, Alabama, but he couldn't get me back. It was 3 tears in my shoulder. And I went into coaching. I coached in the Cape Cod League for a summer, and I sat on that dugout with the best players in the country. All those guys went on to play MLB. And I found myself realizing that I loved playing the game, but didn't enjoy watching the game as much. And for that moment, I said, So I took an internship with a small team in Spartanburg, South Carolina. And after 2 months, I got offered the job as a GM of a team at 23 years old. And how do you get offered the job as a GM? Well, it has to be one of the worst teams in the entire country to get offered a job at 23 years old to be a GM. And so, long story short, took over the Gastonia Grizzlies at 23. There was $268 in the bank account my first day. We had 3 full-time employees. Payroll was on Friday. There were only 200 fans coming to the games the previous year. The team had lost over $100,000. It was not a pretty picture. I couldn't pay myself for the first couple of months. It was really, really tough. So it was then that I learned about marketing, because I read every book about P.T. Barnum and Walt Disney and every marketing and sales book I could. And I realized very quickly that if we wanted to be successful, we couldn't be in the baseball business. We had to be in the entertainment business.
So, and we're going to get there. That's what I love about what you've created. It's what you are is marketing that happens to have a baseball game tied to it. And that's what I absolutely love. And you brought back memories for me, because I can remember playing in Helena, Montana, and that our GM was in his mid-20s, as a young guy running the organization, which when you're playing, that was low-level A-ball. It's not easy. There's not a ton of money, and there's not a lot of fans coming to every game. So I give you a lot of credit for jumping in. Now, I want to fast forward, because you were in Gastonia, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this pivotal moment is where everything changed. There was a proposal done on the field that kind of shifted the way you thought about what you were doing with Gastonia. Tell the audience about that.
Yeah, well, so the proposal, and you're referring to my future wife, I'm guessing. I'm hoping. All right, there's not another proposal. So I spent 10 years in Gastonia experimenting and failing things like flatulence fun night, salute to underwear night, grandma beauty pageants, dig to China nights. We actually gave away a one-way ticket to China with no accommodations, no flight back. That was pretty ridiculous. But anyways, we started attracting fans, players doing dances during games. We started attracting. Also attracted this amazing woman, Emily, who was working for Ripken Baseball, the Augusta Green Jackets, working for Cal Ripken. And we started talking, and she wanted to join our team, became our director of fun. And she's the only girl that would wear a hot dog costume like every day, not care what any guy thinks. She's like, I'm here to give fun. And I fell in love with that confidence. So the last game of our 2014 season, sold out crowd, I flew her family down. My family flew down, and in front of a sold out crowd, I stopped the game and proposed to her in the yellow tuxedo. And actually is the 6th inning, and we stopped the game with a huge fireworks show. The umpires and the players are sitting there watching, when are we going to play again? Because now there's fireworks all over the field, debris all over the field. I was like, this is our moment. Thank goodness she said yes. And that night, to go to where you're going, she planned a trip to Savannah, Georgia, and I'd never been. And so she surprised us with the trip to Savannah, Georgia. And I went there, and we found the stadium, 1926 ballpark, walked in. There was minor league baseball, the New York Mets affiliate, beautiful night, majestic stadium. Walk in, there's less than 200 fans there at the ballpark. And I was like, what happened? And it was that moment that I reached out to the commissioner of the league. I said, if this team ever leaves, we are going to put a team there. And Emily said, yeah, go for it, Jesse, whatever you think. And then all of a sudden we found out that they left, and we came in there and proceeded to fail pretty miserably for 6 months before we started to figure a few things out.
Well, and you chose a good city. I have a colleague who lives down and operates his agency out of Savannah. It's a pretty cool city to be in. And go back to Gastonia. A couple questions I have from that. You said when you started, when you came into that organization, you couldn't even pay yourself for the first few months, and attendance was low. But something I don't want to go overlooked was, and you said you made the proposal to your now wife, Emily. The stadium was sold out. Yeah. So what would you say? What was that decision you made to go? How you transitioned Gastonia from an organization that could barely draw a crowd to, by the time you left Gastonia for Savannah, you guys were selling out.
Yeah, we went from, the worst in the country, I think 4th in the country in attendance. So we were, selling out games. And it started from, whenever you join something, you want to launch something, you want to do it big, but you also got to listen. And so I made all these cold calls. I remember there was an article I found from November of 2007, and I said in the article, I'm going to meet with every single business owner in this community in the next month, which is impossible. But you better believe I called every single one. And I listened to them, and I listened to them, and I listened to them. And what they said is, our people don't like baseball. It's too boring. It's too slow. It's too long. We're just not interested. It's not for us. I heard it over and over and over again. So I started thinking, I was like, we can't position ourselves as a baseball team. And I was like, well, you can't just say, oh, you're entertainment, because every minor league team does that. I go, we need to have something that we can put our stake in the ground and say, we are different. And so the first thing I said, and I remember it was just in a meeting, I didn't think too much about it. And it was like, well, what do you mean you guys aren't like baseball? I go, well, our players do choreographed dances. And he was like, what? I'm like, yeah, every game they're going to do choreographed dances. I had no idea how to do this. And so I just started saying that. And when people said we don't like baseball, I started saying, perfect, you'll love our shows. And I changed the language from being a game to being about a show leading with players dancing. And I had no idea how I was going to do it. So we invited a dance instructor to teach the players to dance. And they were terrible dancers, much better ball players. And there was a long story there. But by the 3rd night, I'm walking through the crowd. The players are dancing. I'm watching a husband and wife are talking. And I see the wife go, shut up, honey. They're about to dance. And I was like, all right, we are on to something. We are on to something now. And I knew it. Those guys are the most popular players. And that was the way to differentiate ourselves. It started with just one player dance, doing it every game. And then that turned into something that really took off. And people started coming to the ballpark not knowing what to expect.
Well, and you've taken it to a whole new level in Savannah, which we're going to talk about. Question on that, though. When, today you're known as the man in the yellow tux. When did you start wearing the tux? When did that become an idea?
Oh, it was 2011. And so I think my first 3 seasons, 28, 29, and 2010, I was testing, trying, and crowds were starting to grow. We got a few sellouts, I think, in 2010. And then I was like, I'm putting on the show. I'm on the field. We're Pine fans. We're dancing. It's a circus. And I'm wearing a polo like everyone else. I go, that is not who I should be. That's not who I am. And so, inspired by P.T. Barnum, I said, I'm going to get a tuxedo. And so I got a black tuxedo with tails. One of my buddy owned a bridal formal shop. And I put on that first night. It was 100 degrees in North Carolina in May. And I literally almost melted. I was like, this isn't going to work. And I need to find a color that was lighter. And the Grizzlies had a little gold in their logo. So I was like, all right, there's yellow. And I found brightcoloredtuxedos.com, overnighted it, put it on the next day. And it stuck. And people didn't even know my name. They said, oh, look at that guy in the yellow tuxedo. Let's get a picture with him. Look at that guy. And it became a thing that just stood out. And it really embodied kind of like what we do. We're about creating attention and having fun. And as I wasn't the owner then, but now as the owner, if I'm wearing this and I'm throwing underwear to fans during the games and I'm dancing and I'm singing and I'm like this, that hopefully gives permission to everyone else to have fun. You look at most owners of sports teams, where do they sit during the games? They're up in their owner's booth, way up corporate, dressed up in suits. You all got to be professional like that. That's not who we are. We are not trying to be corporate. We're not trying to be professional. We're trying to be fun. And it starts at the top. So unintentionally, me wearing this gave the rest of our whole staff permission and players to have more fun.
Well, and what I love you said about that, and I had to learn this, for the baseball purists out there, they could look at what you're doing and be like, that's not good for the game. And it's even like you look at the major league level today. Say what you want about, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Fernando Tatis Jr., how they round the bases and do their little thing. That's just where we are with baseball today. Whether you like it or not, it's about entertainment. And so now let's fast forward. You get to Savannah.
Yeah.
And I watched the promo video you guys had on your website about you get there and literally the stadium is empty. They have taken everything out of it.
Oh, yeah.
Talk about those first few months where you were literally building from scratch.
So picture this. So it's myself, my wife. I was 31 years old at the time. My wife's 28. We have a 24-year-old president and 3 22-year-olds out of college. And we show up that first day and the city gives us the keys and they say, good luck. Like you're going to fail like everyone else. And we walk in and every single thing, every piece of furniture, everything is gone from the stadium. And we go into an abandoned to the office and the phone lines were cut and the internet lines were cut. The former team just did get rid of, and then literally, so we found an abandoned storage building with the tiles out of place, water coming down. We're like, all right, guys, guess this is our office. And we're like, we didn't have any furniture. And so we grabbed a picnic table from outside the park and brought it in. And there's pictures of this. So we didn't have any phones. So it's us just calling with our cell phones, calling people in the community. We're here. They're like, who are you? Like, what are you? Like, I met with a bartender. I met with a restaurant in a bar that was like big in the community. And they're like, oh, we heard you guys aren't even serving beer at your games. We're not interested. I'm like, we're serving beer. What are you talking about? We'll have beer, And we had to utterly try to convince everyone we were this low-level baseball team. We weren't even saying we were college summer baseball. We were saying we were independent because we were too afraid to say college summer baseball. So it was so bad that in the first 3 months we only sold 2 total tickets, and we sold 2 season tickets. That was it.
And I'm going to put that promo video, that About Us, the history video that you have on your website in the show notes, because I think everybody needs to watch it. It's just a really cool story from where you came from to what you guys are doing today. And I want to talk about that because, yeah, your first few months were terrible as far as getting the interest of the Savannah community. I even remember watching that, and you talked about your unveiling of the new team, and 100 people showed up, to for the unveiling. But I feel like everything changed when you came out with the unveiling of the nickname.
Yeah.
Because you had a contest. You had a contest about, we need to vote for a team nickname. And there were a lot of thoughts about how it should be tied to the city of Savannah and its history. Talk about that, because how you ended up with the Bananas is fascinating.
Well, we were marketing like everyone else when we first came in. You know, we teamed up with the newspaper, we did radio, we did social media, but no one cared because we didn't have the attention yet. You know, we were just another baseball team. So at that big first launch event where we invited the whole entire community to come, and it's like free food, free drinks at the conference center. Like literally, we were taking care of you. And 100 people showed up. You know, it couldn't get worse. Like we're literally taking care of you. And we said, all right, we want a name that's really different, really dramatic, really unique, real fun. Because I knew we couldn't just be like something normal. And so we sent it out. And then we got every single normal and generic name you could possibly get, like spirits, anchors, ports, like skippers, sailors. I'm like, what are all these names? And we had one woman, she suggested bananas. And I looked at Emily and looked at Jared, our president. We started talking. And my wife goes, go bananas. And I'm like, the mascot could be split. And then like, oh, we could have a senior citizen dance team, the Banana Nanas. It was like, oh, we could have frozen banana drinks. And like our eyes just started lighting up. It was like, oh, it was like, this brand could be crazy. And then like someone, one of our team members said, people are going to hate it. I go, bingo. I go, they are going to be embarrassed by it. They are not going to like it. It's going to hurt, but it's going to get this polarizing effect. And I believe if you're not getting criticized, you're playing it too safe. And so we knew that we spent 2 days, Andy, training our team on how to respond to the hate. Like literally when they say, this is the dumbest name ever. Oh, well, we just wanted to be unique and creative. We thought Savannah's a unique, like we literally worked on the talking points with our 22-year-olds and our team on it to plan for it. And we were right. When we announced the name locally, the news, I mean, the funny thing from the documentary was showing the news anchor looking at the screen like, did they really just name the team?
I wanted to say that watching that video was so funny is you have people clapping and I visibly see this woman in the shot and she kind of looks around like, really?
And we rigged that. See, people don't know this. I'm gonna get to it. We invited all of like the spouses, significant others, like friends of all of our staff, like everybody we knew, and we told them just cheer really loudly when it comes out. Like we were trying to egg it on, so like it really wasn't that positive at first. So yeah, the news stations, everyone, you know, it's an embarrassment to the city. You'll never sell a ticket. Leave our town now. But nationally, Andy, #1 trending on Twitter. Merchandise was going all over the country. People were talking about it because they were like, this is fun. And I was like, yes, it's just going to take time to get the city to believe in it. And that's what happened.
Well, and I think a big lesson in marketing that you learned is, and I see it in the insurance industry every day, is when you try to be different, at first, most people aren't going to like it, but you gained the one asset you needed, attention.
Yes. And then once you have it,
and once you have that, that's hard to let go of.
Well,
and so, go ahead.
Let's say, you know, Jeff Bezos says you need to be willing to be misunderstood. Everything they've done at Amazon has been misunderstood at first. I mean, you think about the idea of the Echo or the Alexa in our like, let's have something shaped like a Pringles can that listens to everything you can say and you talk to it. Like what? We're all misunderstood at first. But, you know, I believe you can't get the hearts of anyone until you first have their eyes and the ears. You have to get them to see and be able to hear you before you can get down deep to the heart. And so that's what we had to do. And it was painful. My wife and I were sleeping on an airbed. We had to sell our house. We you know, it was painful, but it was worth it.
But take me to the moment, because we're going to get into the Savannah Bananas today and all the things you guys are doing that are fun. Because factually, if you're not familiar, if you're listening and not familiar who the Savannah Bananas are, it's a college team in the Coastal Plains League. So it's a summer league for college players. And what you're doing today from the marketing perspective, I said it earlier, you know, what you are is your entertainment that happens to have a baseball game tied to it, which is what I absolutely love. When was the moment you realized, you know, in that first year that, ooh, we got something here? Like we're on, because Savannah historically was this minor league affiliate of the Mets, wasn't drawing a lot of people, but you're like, holy crap, this could be big.
Opening night. Now, we convinced enough people to come watch us potentially fail. So the opening night, we had 4,000 people show up, sold out, pouring rain. They rushed the stadium. Now, again, part of the business model we do is, you know, whatever's normal, do the exact opposite, but also eliminate all friction points from the customer experience. See, I haven't showed Andy. The name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. Every decision we make, we ask, is it fans first? We put ourselves in our fan shoes. Actually, every night at our stadium, one of our staff members goes undercover, parks with the fans, comes in with the fans, sits with the fans, eats with the fans, and we do a whole presentation that night at midnight in front of our team on what were the friction points, what were the pros, what were the grows, every night. So it's all about the fan experience. So we made every ticket all-inclusive because we thought, everyone hates to be nickel and dime. That's terrible at a stadium. You pay $5 for parking, you pay $8 for this, $4 for a soda, $8, whatever. So we said every ticket, all inclusive, all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, popcorn, dessert, and your ticket for $15. All right. That's what we started at. It was crazy. We had no idea if it would work. We just thought, if I'm a fan, I like that. I'm all in on that. So did it work? Not at first. 4,000 people showed up and they rushed our concession stands. We should have assumed that. But we went through 10,000 pieces of meat in the first hour and a half. I think we had about 4,000 pieces of meat ready. People waited for 3 hours. I mean, it was the worst experience, but you had to get through the messy to get through the good. And very people would quit right then. We knew that if we could figure it out, it would be worth it. So anyways, opening night, disaster. Our team's in green uniforms because we're not quite ripe. And we made 6 errors. We wear green uniforms every opening night. Finally, we won this year, which was good. But anyways, we made 6 errors, played terrible. In the rain delay, because the game didn't start till 8:30, I look at the Bananas, the senior citizen dance team, and I was like, can you guys dance out in the rain? And they're like, sure, why not? So because everyone's waiting for the game. And I watch as they get in front. There's a video, and there's the tarp behind them. There's like the tarp. No one's playing. And the Nanas are dancing with it pouring rain on them. They're all 65, 70 years old. And I look at the crowd, and the energy level went like this, straight up in the air. And I watched as every other person had a phone videotaping. And I was like, all right, people are seeing something they've never seen before. And you talk about marketing. We had 2,000 plus marketers that night, just in that one moment. And so I realized that night, if you create these moments that people have never seen something at a ballpark, like our breakdancing first base coach, like our banana baby, like playing in kilts, like giving away colon cleansings, like all the crazy things we do, then you create these moments that you have to be there, that you wouldn't believe what happened at the ballpark. And that became our entire strategy.
Well, and the lesson I took from that first game is, if I heard you correctly in that video, was you guys played like crap, but the crowd stayed around for the entire game.
Yes.
Because of the entertainment value.
And they told everybody. So what happened from that game, we didn't have to market anymore. So we had 4,000 evangelists, an army of marketers that went around town and said, you have to see the Bananas game.
Well, and what really drew me in as a fan a couple years ago, just honestly catching you on YouTube videos and things like that, and even snippets in Bleacher Report, is how you actually get the players involved. So like in minor league baseball, when I was playing out in Montana and Utah, there was a lot of entertainment, but it was often fan entertainment. They'd have the fans come out and do, but what you do now to actually get the baseball team from wearing yellow plaid kilts, what sold me and made me a fan is watching a player come up the bat with his walk-up music, literally being a marching band behind him. Talk about how you've taken that entertainment value to the next level to actually get the players involved with the entertainment.
I think that it's a great, and it's a big conversation, because I think when you look at what happens in minor league baseball, professional sports, you have the front office and then you have the players. You have the players and the coaches in the front office, and they're separated. There's two different goals. It's the players win games, and then the front office is like sell tickets, create an experience, and they want to win too, but it's all kind of going against each other. We all have one goal. And before anyone puts on a Bananas uniform, they go through an entire orientation with me and our staff. Bananas you, fans first you. You can't get a jersey until you know and you hear the stories about what our players do and how, we have players that literally, I'll never forget this. A few years ago, like 2 kids came up to one of our players and said, "Can I have your autograph?" And he got down to a knee and said, "Only if I can have yours." And he gave him his hat. And now if you look at our team, half the guys have kids like John, Ethan, Alan, all over their hats, just one name, which is so funny, because we tell these stories. Guys, this is why 4,000 people come. This is why fans will drive 40 hours from Utah, which has happened, to a game and drive back 40 hours the next day. This is why fans line up at 1:30 for a 7 o'clock game. It's because of these experiences. And so when you tell the guys, like you mentioned the pep band, we'll have jam sessions with the guys. So once we say this is what we're doing, we're in this together. So every day, 3:45 on a game day, we say, all right, guys, what are our scoring celebrations going to be today? What are our walk-ups going to be today? And so we test one. The first night we had, why don't we run through the crowd? And so the guys, after the first run, they sprinted around the entire crowd. So the whole dugout's empty. Every guy is going through high-fiving the crowd, and the fans are going nuts. I was like, this needs to be a tradition. And then the next guy was like, well, what if we had a grocery cart? So they put a grocery cart in the grandstand. The guy that scores, they put him in the grocery cart. They push him all the way down the grandstand. And so it becomes this buy-in culture. I mean, one guy was like, we didn't have, I'm sorry, I got to go here. This is good. But the constraints foster creativity too. So if you think about any business. If there's a constraint, you goes, oh, what are we going to do? Well, what can you do now because you never had to think of it that way? We lost our announcer because he couldn't be there. He had to travel. He's an amazing announcer, DJ. He's very good at what he does. And Shark wasn't there. We couldn't get another announcer. So he said, all right. Well, what if we have fans introduce our players when they come up? So we had fans. We go in the crowd and now batting for the Bananas. What if we had your teammates introduce yourself? We started doing that. And then one guy was like, well, what if I introduce myself? And Bill Leroy. So Bill literally comes up to the plate, now batting for the Bananas, UNCG alum, myself, and throws the mic. And it was ridiculous. But it starts in the beginning when you have a vision. And our vision is very, very clear. What we learned, as far as marketing, you want to go into marketing. We were so clear that we make baseball fun. And we want to be the most fun baseball team. That guides every decision that we make. And so when you make that as the clear thing, it makes all your marketing, your content, your things, and the guys know, is this fun? Let's do it. And that made it.
Well, and I think what you've also understood is in the world of marketing, they talk about who's the hero of the story. The hero you've realized is the fans. It's not the players.
100%.
Whereas in baseball and sports, you think the heroes are the guys, the women, men and women on the field. It's not. It's the fans. And you get that clearly. You know,
can I jump in? We think our team, our players and our staff, our game day staff are our biggest fans. So we also put them first. So when you try to look at everybody in your organization as a fan, are you treating them like a fan? Like that you're excited, you look up to them, you do great things for them. So it's like almost looking at everyone as a fan, and that guides a lot of our decisions.
It's almost a trickle-down effect. You as the organization, the management, look at the players as your heroes. The players look at the fans as theirs.
Yes, there you go.
And that's so. And so the baseball guy in me has a couple questions. Number one, knowing this is a college league, and you're recruiting college players to come play for you, because of what you do, I got to believe every college player wants to come play for you guys. Like, how do you pick which guys you're going to bring in a given summer?
It's funny. We had a guy, so orientation, we do the bulk of the guys like from before the season, but also guys trickle in because they're playing in the regionals or super regionals. Yeah. So this guy coming, I had a one-on-one orientation, which happens once in a while. So it's a one-on-one orientation. And the guy, he goes, before you go anything, I just want to let you know, I know everything about you guys. This is my dream to be a part of this. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, I have read every story, followed everything. I saw the first Baseball America article a couple of years ago, and I have told my coach it is my dream. I am just in awe that I'm here right now. And I'm like, all right, this is going to be a good orientation. Let's do this. And so we've been seeing that. I get emails and messages. So we have about 1,200 players plus that reach out to us for a 30-man roster throughout the entire year. So it's over 1,000. I think 1,200.
Wow.
For a 30-man roster. So we're playing with, I mean, and again, there's our coach. He sent me the other day. He goes, there's two criteria he looks for. Obviously, you want someone that's a banana that understands what it's like, to be fans first. But also, he said he wants someone that knows how to throw down in the arena. He doesn't want someone just want to be seen. We have over 1 million plus social media followers, more TikTok followers than every Major League Baseball team. Not just their own exposure. Wants to throw down in the arena and be a banana, and that's what he looks for. So he spends a lot of time more filtering than recruiting.
Well, and think about this, I want everybody listening in to hear what Jesse's been saying in the what I love about the marketing is just how detailed it is, Jesse. Your first games of the year, you wear green. Why? Because bananas aren't quite ripe yet. I loved your introduction of Split, the banana mascot, when you said you called him the king of potassium. Talk about, though, what you just said, though. It's one thing to have entertainment, but let's not overlook the fact you guys have been pretty damn successful on the field. In fact, this last year, I think you guys went 36-8, won the league. Why do you think that entertainment has transitioned to success on the field?
We had a professor from Georgia Southern do a study on this because I said I was speaking at their college way back in the day. I was like, the Bananas just play better because of our atmosphere, our culture, and because they have fun. And I didn't realize at the time, he wrote that down. And he was like, no chance. And so he studied stats of our players and every player in the league for 2 years. And he came back to me and said, hey, I heard your quote on what you said. And I found some data on that. I think you're going to find this interesting. I'm like, oh, shoot. Did he find that? It's not. He said, there's only one team that showed a strong correlation and an extremely strong correlation. when you put on a Bananas uniform, you will play better because of the culture, the fun, and the atmosphere. And for 3 years, he studied it. It was the only team he could show a correlation. And I believe, and as you, I mean, you can tell the energy you have doing this podcast as well. When you do things that you enjoy, when you have fun, you will perform better. And so for a lot of these guys that play in a college or play in front of a team in front of only 300 people, and their coach is negative and it's not a fun environment, they will perform worse. And it's proven. So we focus on the fans, the fun, the atmosphere, and the culture. And the baseball is taking care of itself. So yes, we've won more games than any team in the league over the last 6 years. We won 2 championships, and we're always first round bye in the playoffs. And it's just because we have fun and because our coach does a great job of building that culture with the guys. And we get great players. We have more guys drafted than any other team as well. But it starts with kind of, who are you a Banana? Do you understand what we're about? And let's put that together.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions. What is, first and foremost, what would be the message because of that success, what message would you give not only another sports franchise, but just corporate America about how to have more success as a business? What would be your number one piece of advice?
Well, I think it's to be very clear on your vision and what makes you different. So, and when you look, if you go to our website on our About Us Net, we have like all the things that we do that are different, because we want to be very clear on that. So you think about a business, if they're playing the same game as everyone, competing against everyone else, in sports, everything's about the competition, the seriousness, the competition. That's not a fun game for 99% of the teams, at least every night, half the teams are losing. So, we said, all right, well, what if we just focus on that differentiator, on make it about fun and make sure it's a great experience and a great culture. So I would ask business owners to think about, what makes you different? What game can you play that your people will be excited about? We don't want to compete against yourself. We could beat against ourselves to create something at next game that's more fun than anyone else has ever done at a ballpark. And so I think that's where we start. And, I challenge everyone to stop thinking about how to create revenue and sales. How do you create fans? It's a different conversation. Create fans of your people and business, and that can change everything.
I'm just curious, if you had to pick the craziest thing you've done during a baseball game as a marketer, as entertainment, what would it be?
It hasn't happened yet. And I'm saying that not as a political answer, but I mean, you better believe I've continued to think about how do I have players skydive to their positions to start. And so I know there's liability issues, but like there are so many things that I'm thinking about of how can you do this, something never seen at a ballpark. So it hasn't happened yet. I mean, we opened the show talking about a mechanical bull. I mean, there's no chance that at some point we're not going to have a ball monkey delivering baseballs to an umpire while climbing up the umpire and handing him the baseballs. There's no chance we're not going to have a monkey. So what's the craziest? We haven't done it yet. And that's what makes it exciting. And I'll say this. Every night we try something we've never done before in front of a live crowd. And every night something fails miserably that we've never done in front of a live crowd. When we have Banana Ball, which we haven't even talked about, Andy, where our whole redesign of baseball, a 2-hour timed game, with literally a fans catch a foul ball, it's an out, no bunting. If you win the inning, you get a point. It's a whole different game. Steal first. It's amazing. I love it. But we did it. It's a 2-hour game. We had an hour at the hour mark. We did a halftime show in the first game we did it. So we had a countdown in the middle of the game. It's a 2-1 count. There's a guy on second base. There's 2 outs. And we count down and the players run off the field. They literally ran off the field. And I had, for our St. Patty's Day, when we did it, a bagpipe drum band come on out. And they were all in their 60s and 70s. And it was the slowest halftime show I've ever seen. Literally, they walked out in the slowest and please welcome our halftime show. And fans were like, what? A halftime show in baseball? And they're just slowly walking out to the field. And it was very slow, very painful. But we're going to continue to break the rules and do more halftime shows, and we'll figure out how to get better at them. And I think that's makes it exciting. There's
a huge message there, Jesse. When you're willing to be that different, you can actually completely redesign an industry. In this case, it's the game of baseball. 9 innings, takes 3 to 4 hours. No. We're going to try something different here. I absolutely love it. Now, you're the author too. You took this to a book, and you're the author of Find Your Yellow Tux, How to Be Successful by Standing Out. Some of the things that I took away, I absolutely love about, number one, being normal is an undesirable position. And you said it before, being normal, look at being normal and go do the exact opposite. I come from an industry, insurance, that is the the living example of normal, and this is how everybody else does it in the industry. How could people use your book, an entity, an insurance agency, use your book to develop that marketing? What 2 or 3 things do they need to do from a marketing perspective to start standing out?
Yeah. And I wrote that book after the second season. I have a new book coming out that's coming to your fans first: Change the Game, Break the Rules, Create an Unforgettable Experience, which I go more into detail. But yeah, I started that book, and I'll share more in this next book as well. You got to have a mirror moment. And, I think about the beginning of the Jerry Maguire movie, where he's like up all night and he's looking at them. He's like, we can't be like this. We can't be like every other agency. We have to have fewer clients and better focus on them. And he immediately did this whole preach. Everyone's clapping. And then he got fired. All right. It was a great opening to the movie. What's your mirror moment? Most people look outside. The mirror moment, in one of my keynotes, I'll play the song Man in the Mirror. You need to look at yourself and make that change. Everyone looks outside and looks at their competitors. Look at yourself. Look at the own problems in your industry. Look at the problems in your experience. If you put yourself in your customer's shoes, know what is bad about the insurance agency. Know what all those frustrations are pointing, and do the opposite. We realized baseball, too long, too slow, too boring for too many people. You get nickel and dimed at every game. All right. There's ticket fees. There's convenient fees. There's shipping fees on everything. We eliminated all that. We even went so far, we eliminated advertising from our entire stadium because we don't believe people want to come to the ballpark and be sold to, marketed to, advertised to. We threw away hundreds of thousands of dollars 2 weeks before the pandemic. One of the dumbest business moves you could ever do. But we are so gung-ho on eliminating all those frustration points. So if I'm any insurance agent, I would say start with that mirror moment and write down, what are all the frustration points, the friction points of that experience as a customer, and do the opposite. And that's how you can create raving fans.
That's phenomenal. That's really why, I was so excited to have you on, Jesse, is you have taken a sport by storm. In fact, I wanted to ask you this. This is totally off the subject. Do you feel, because you took over the Bananas back in 15, 16?
Yeah, 15, 16, our first season. Yep.
And you look at minor league baseball today. Back when I played in the early 2000s, most minor league teams had a lot of what I would call traditional nicknames. But now when you look at minor league baseball, there are some very creative nicknames when you go around all the various leagues in single A, double A, triple A. Do you think you've had a little impact on that, a little effect on that?
Oh, I think we were affected by that. I mean, there were ones before us. There were the Flying Squirrels, the Montgomery Biscuits. I mean, obviously it's becoming more prevalent now. I think the challenge is people look, let's have a crazy name and create attention. You need to think more about the brand. We have things that we have ideas with Bananas that we haven't unveiled yet. That might not be unveiled for 3 or 4 or 5 years. So I think with anybody, when they come up with a name for their company or come up with it, you need to think about the brand in a much longer term. And I think minor teams like, we're going to sell a lot of merchandise. We're the Trash Pandas. All right, well, what are you going to do with Trash Pandas in 3 or 4 or 5 years? And I'm just saying all these names. And so, fortunately, this is what we've seen, Andy. I've talked to a lot of minor league teams. Their merchandise, they kill it their first year. They might do $1 million, $1.5 million. Then they go down and down and down until they reach this plateau. We are doubling and almost tripling. We tripled our merchandise this past year, become well over $1 million, because we're thinking about the brand and creating fans, not thinking about just, hey, let's do a crazy name. So, yeah, we may have played a role, but I think we've been impacted as well.
That's awesome. This is, Jesse, this has been phenomenal. In fact, I even think about today when you look at what's going on in college sports with this whole name, image, and likeness thing, and the fact personal brands for college athletes are going to become more important than they've ever been. What you're doing for those guys who get to play with you every summer to get them ready for that personal branding, especially if they've got a chance to play at that next level in professional baseball, you're setting them up for success.
And this past year, we actually each player had their jersey with their own face on it. And so we actually auctioned those off and then sold them and wrote over $7,000 to our players, which for college guys, obviously split up between the team. But so you'll see guys, they sold hundreds of jerseys with just their face all over the jersey. So yeah, we really owned that name, image, and likeness.
That's awesome. Well, Jesse, you're an author, a sought after keynote speaker, and owner of one hell of an amazing college summer league team. If somebody wanted to reach out, there's a CEO of an organization listening in saying, man, we need this guy on stage in front of my employees. How can people best get in touch with you?
I appreciate it. I'll never forget. I was 25 years old. And one night I read Mark Cuban's book, short book, but I read it through the night. I sent him an email, I think at 6 a.m. He wrote back within an hour. And I'll never forget that. And, you think about how reachable he was and accessible. And I've tried to always be that way as well. So, yeah, I'm easy to find. You found me. And you search Yellow Tux anywhere, you'll find me, Jesse Yellow Tux or Savannah Bananas. And yeah, if I can help, if there are any questions, I'd love to jam.
Well, I got to tell you, I am at this point in time scheduled to speak in Savannah next late spring of 22. So I am going to make sure, as long as your season has started, I'm going to make sure that my butt is in the stands if I can get a ticket. Because this is, to me, going to a Savannah Banana games, especially if you're a baseball fan, has to be a bucket list item.
It's amazing. We keep hearing that from people, and that's quite the honor, quite the kind words.
Well, Jesse, I want to thank you for this time. I know you're a very busy man, and if you're listening in, I hope you had fun. One, do yourself a favor, go start watching the YouTube channels of the Savannah Bananas. Go to their page, learn about the team, but more importantly, learn what Jesse just said about marketing. It's about looking at normal and running as far from it as you can. Because when you, your team, your organization is able to do that, you get that clarity, that gives you confidence. You know what happens next. You guys take massive action. So go make that happen today.